The median employee salary at India's largest companies has declined, but the compensation of their CEOs, managing directors, and CXOs has been increasing since the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. As of May this year, the median CEO salary in India's top listed companies was up 2.6% in the past 2 years, from 11.51 crore rupees in FY19 to 11.81 crore rupees in FY21. Meanwhile, their median employee salary was still down 0.5% from pre-pandemic levels. An average employee at these companies earned rupees 6.4 lakh in FY21, down from rupees 6.44 lakh in FY19. Clearly, income inequality has widened in India's corporate sector during the pandemic. The widening gap between chief executive and median employee salaries is evident. A recent Business Standard analysis revealed that a typical Indian CEO's salary in FY21 was 184 times the median employee salary. The ratio was up from 174.3x in FY20 and 179x in FY19. Here's the catch. In 2011, management thinker Peter F. Drucker suggested that the pay ratio between CEOs and employees be a maximum of 20:1. According to Drucker, a 20:1 salary ratio was the limit beyond which managers couldn't go if they didn't want resentment and falling morale to impact their companies. Closer home, N.R. Narayana Murthy also advocates that CEO remuneration should not exceed 20 to 25 times the average employee's salary. Needless to say, India Inc. has breached the prescribed limits of Drucker and Murthy by a very wide margin. However, investors are now increasingly pushing back against resolutions on the remuneration of top executives. According to data from proxy advisory firm Institutional Investor Advisory Services India, or IIAS, companies have already seen 5 such rejections in the first 4 months of FY23 alone. There were 8 similar rejections in the whole of FY22, 7 in FY21, and 8 in FY20. According to IIAS founder and managing director Amit Tandon, such rejections reflect investor concerns over rising CXO salaries without enough transparency regarding the remuneration criteria. And that's probably the first thing India Inc. should fix. But what's the solution? India Inc. should voluntarily opt for structural changes that contribute to reining in CEO pay. One way could be allowing worker representation on corporate boards. More sweeping measures have also been suggested in a report of the Economic Policy Institute, which relates to how companies design compensation packages for directors. The idea is to introduce contracts that would incentivize directors to restrain CEO pay. The business logic, as far as shareholders are concerned, is that directors should aim to get comparable performance from CEOs while paying them less.
Germany has had a legal requirement that large companies do have union representation on the boards. Thus, at the governance level, when determinations are made about the sharing of the wealth that is produced by the employees and by the investors together, the German unions are able to influence the decisions taken by the board. It's not just by then negotiations and between the union and the management and strikes and so on. That is why Germany has had more harmonious industrial relations and has remained a very strong industrial force, even though wages in Germany are higher than almost every other country. So with high wages, but because of the fairness in everyone feeling there's a stake, the workers and the managers, a stake in the performance of the enterprise, they are so performing. This is not the position in Anglo-Saxon enterprises, where the unions are an evil. They must be stopped from operating. And I'm afraid that we are going down the Anglo-Saxon route here, not learning from the Japanese, who also have a German type system, and the Germans.
Prolonged inaction could invite regulatory scrutiny, since this tends to be an emotive issue in countries like India, which is racked by steep income inequality.
2 things that the regulator can possibly do. One is simply recommend a mandatory cap in absolute terms on the remuneration, to say that, while you are saying that commission is going to be 2% or 5% of profits, if it crosses, let's say, 20 crores, you have to put a number there. If it crosses 20 crores, you come back to shareholders for an approval. The other way to look at it is, therefore, regulators then say that this is going to become effectively a related party transaction. Then it becomes promoters can't vote their own equity on the resolution, right? So therefore, they will therefore need the blessings of investors. And once that comes into play, it's essentially what's happening to related party transactions now, right? As a resolution, the degree of disclosure has suddenly increased substantially. The degree of clarity, the degree of explanation to why these transactions are required has gone up tremendously because promoters can't put their shares. And you're likely to therefore also see that for remuneration. The degree of disclosure will improve. There will be a temperance. There will be a temperance the remuneration levels will get tempered, largely because the investor pushback will become far more critical, right?
In 2021, the Tax Excessive CEO Pay Act was introduced in the US Senate. The legislation seeks to impose an additional corporate tax on companies where CEOs are paid at least 50 times more than their median workers. For example, companies where CEOs take home 500 times more than the typical employee would have to pay an additional 5% in corporate tax. If corporate inaction leads to such steps in India, it would be a steep price for India Inc. to pay for the failings of its nomination and remuneration committees.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
यार
मत पूछ यार, फिर से स्टॉक्स में फंस गया।
तो स्टॉक्स के साथ बॉन्ड्स, इंश्योरेंस, गोल्ड में बैलेंस कर।
इसमें बहुत तामझाम है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा है ऑल इन वन अकाउंट। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है। Investing made easy and rewarding with 5 Paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.